Rob Grimes with the IFBTA, and I'm very pleased today to be with Niko Papademetriou, who is the Vice President of Business Development for Q, and they are our newest regional industry partner member.
Thank you.
So welcome.
Thank you.
So before we get into anything else, so Q's been showing up in a lot of places, but actually you and I keep showing up in a whole bunch of places, in airports, lounges, right? A whole bunch of places in the industry, which means we're traveling in the same circles.
That's right.
But really, you have a industry background before you ever joined Q.
Sure.
So what was that background?
Yeah, I have a somewhat unique background in the space. Came out of an investment banking background, really, as a young kid, as I say. But I owned and operated a restaurant and actually a nightclub in Washington, D.C. for 5 years before getting onto this side of the technology hospitality space.
So why would you make a change to this side?
I looked at the operator side, and whereas there's a lot of opportunity there, clearly, a lot of opportunity to do fun and unique things and engage guests, I thought that there was, frankly, a lack of technology solutions that were working well in the hospitality space. I saw a gap between guest engagement and the technology platforms that restaurants could use, and came on board to Q to change that status quo.
And you're the third person on board to Q?
I think I was the third hire, yeah.
The third hire. So when we first met 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay, so when we first met 5 years ago, Q was not Q, first of all, but it was totally different and really a small startup.
That's right.
And you've made a lot of steam since then. So, what has your vision been, for Q and the business development piece? And I guess you figure you made the right move. So,
I think so.
Sort of how's it going? How do you differ yourself from the other types of technologies in the space that you felt were missing?
Sure. Well, I'll start on the first part of that question, which is really who did we start off as and who are we today? And I'd actually argue, Rob, that they're pretty similar. I think we've just grown along a path to get where we are today. So when I joined the company, we were, I think, 6 people in total. We were in an office about a third or maybe a quarter the size of this room. And we had a vision that we wanted to provide a platform to restaurants, a technology suite for restaurants that could pick and choose the right technological solutions for their business and wrap it around a single source of truth. And nobody was doing a great job of that. We felt like the market was empty there, and so it was an opportunity for us. And you're right, we were a very small startup. Today we're over 80 people. We're in multiple offices globally. And what we're doing today is really just a 5-year fast forward of that vision. We are delivering a transaction platform or a commerce platform for large restaurant chains in the United States.
But it didn't always start off as large restaurant chains initially, right?
That's right.
You were really focused on the small to medium business.
That's exactly right. But we knew we wanted enterprise from day one. So our first customer was actually a 40-unit chain here in the DC area. And we think that that is a very important differentiator from our model and our focus than most other folks in the marketplace.
But when you use the word enterprise, enterprise is not necessarily a 40-unit chain.
Sure.
So are you scalable, and do you see yourself, as really enterprise, meaning for the biggest of players out there and also the 40-unit chain?
We do. We absolutely do. From early day one in the company, the goal was to be able to scale into thousands of locations and be able to go global. And that was the goal from day one. We actually just recently signed our first 1,000-unit chain. So we're super excited about that. And we've continued to move up market as we've continued to build the product and the team around it.
And the product was built from day one for that future vision.
That's exactly right.
Right. So because I think a lot of people start out one place, but then when they want to make the transition, they have to do a lot of different. Things.
That's exactly right.
So in your mission statement or in your tagline, is Beyond POS. Right. So can you explain what Beyond POS means? Because I think people understand what POS is, but how do you go beyond, right?
Sure. I think POS, to your point, has been clearly defined for decades. I think the difference there is that the restaurant industry today is light years different than it was just 5 years ago. I like to say that the technological needs of a restaurant today, which is really just how can a restaurant engage their guests and run and manage their business, are so different today from just 5 years ago. The change in the marketplace today is multiple times that of what I call the combo wars of the 90s. And I think that was really the last time that QSR operators and fast casual operators, to the extent that there were fast casuals at that time, really got their business turned upside down. And today, with the proliferation of third-party, delivery service providers, third-party digital ordering marketplaces, loyalty, marketing, et cetera, the list goes on and on. A lot of that definition of what a POS was doesn't really apply today. It's no
But all
longer
of those components are, I mean, there's a lot of components when you start talking about takeout, delivery, online ordering.
Sure.
You start talking about all the different types of components and the different segments. Does Q provide actually a solution to all of those pieces, or are you doing that through partnerships?
Mostly the latter. We never want to build something or try to go down an area where we don't think we can, frankly, and we should believe this, do it better than anybody else out there. Right? We don't want to just create some also-ran product suite so that we can give customers out there one throat to choke and give it to them real cheap.
So you're going to go a best-of-breed solution, but you're going to be at the heartbeat. You're going to be at the center of the best-of-breed.
That's right. And where we feel like we have a unique advantage, whether through our human capital or through our technology, we're going to build those solutions and have those really drive the market forward and what it can look and feel like today.
So if I ask you to describe what you believe your heart is, your core of which you build around, what are the core components?
The modern transaction engine, the ability to accept, create, and deliver orders. Ultimately, that is no longer that point of sale box on the countertop, right? It's still
Well,
that.
you don't know where you're going to get the order from and where you're going to deliver to, right?
That's exactly
so you can't
right.
really define that anymore as the countertop.
That is the modern POS, is that you can't define it there any longer. So creating an architecture and a vision that's fully facilitated by the technology that we use and the APIs, everybody talks about that, but the strength and breadth of our APIs to create that platform that's nimble, that moves forward with operators' needs. And instead of taking 18 months to implement a new emerging technology where operators can engage their guests better, being able to deliver that to our customers in 3 months. And that 15-month delta is the difference between a successful leader and somebody else following the market.
So when you talk about the market has changed in the last 5 years, is it the people that are running the market that have changed and the entrepreneurial types of ventures that have changed? Have they made your best customers and your prospective ones, or have the traditional, food service operators changed their thinking? Is it one or the other?
I think there are probably some people that take really strong stances on that question. I'd say both have been changing, and whether it's chicken or egg, who am I to judge? But I think both are changing. There is a lot of human capital and actual capital being put into the restaurant technology ecosystem today. And that's great. Success and a lot of disruption in an area breeds great new solutions. There's also a lot of movement in the restaurant industry today. So veterans and technologists that have been extremely successful in maybe large companies or small are moving quite rapidly today. And they're bringing that technology with them. And so I really think it's both of those paths that's changing
So
the
if
market.
you take a path of best of breed, and you're talking about the APIs and integrating with other people that are best of breed, because you're not going to be the best at everything, right?
Sure.
So you're at the core. So how do you actually choose who those integration partners, who those partners in the best of breed are going to be? Are you making that choice? Is the industry or your customers defining it for you? How do you do that?
Another great question. I mean, it is all three, and it's our ability to sort of weave between those three to create unique value for the market. And so it's a mix between making sure that the right kind of target customer for us, or brand partner as we call them, we're able to work with the highly valued partners that they already have, right? So clearly we need to work really well with them. And there are certainly industry leaders in each one of these spaces. So working with them is a central core for our
Okay, but
vision.
wait a minute. So clearly there are industry leaders, and there are people that you have to integrate with. I mean, you just got to do it, right? But if somebody doesn't have that and they come to you and they say, help us with our strategy, you guys are at the core, you're the center, how do you recommend to them sort of the new vision that they might want to see in partners like that, which may be the industry, the established industry ones, but it also could be newer technologies that, just like people are taking, in the early days, a leap with you, and now you clearly are making a lot of headway with the size of the change you're getting. How do you bring technology innovation to them if they don't have it?
It's a great question. It's really through thought leadership and through a great consultative sales approach. We don't think we have the right solution for everyone, and we'll be the first to tell a prospective brand partner if we're not the right solution for them. And that permeates not just the point of sale sort of at the core of that technology ecosystem, but it also relates to our partners and their partners. So whereas we have 3, 5, 10 different partners in back office or loyalty or marketing or what have you, we know really well what they're great at and what they're not so great at. And that's not a slight on anybody. There are areas that all of us could improve and or choose not to focus on. And so when we're in that conversation from day one, and we're really asking the broad suite of questions and needs to our restaurateurs, then we're able to give them a short list, if you will. And to the extent we might have a solution that we think could solve for their needs, then we'll present that as well.
Okay. And it's good to always not only have the conversation, but really to sort of talk, just sort of one-on-one as to what's going on, in the industry, because the perspectives are more than just what we do with our organization. So it's been a pleasure to have you, and welcome to the IFBTA. And thank you very much for supporting us and supporting the industry.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it.